win, another good week, and you signed Cameron Jerome. What does he bring to Derby County?
Yeah, I think if you look at certain elements of this stage of a season that we're trying to add, we wanted to add a more physical profile of striker at the top end of the pitch for us to have as an option. I think that, you know, if you look at Cameron, he's quick, he's strong, he's a real handful for defenders when he's on form and you're playing the way that suits him to a certain degree. I think that you're always looking for players that, you know, maybe have not had a brilliant season, so they'll be motivated to change that. You look at players that are probably being asked to play in a different way because of a style of the manager at his club that maybe would suit the way that your team plays, and I think he ticks all of those boxes. You know, I think he's you know, he'd be really motivated. I think he's got that fire in his belly to come here and get in our team. And he's had 4 promotions, you know, so the reality is, you know, he knows what it takes to get out of this league, and he's been in teams that have got out of this league. So again, all of those elements are things that we're trying to add and just piece all those little bits together.
Is it right that you wanted him from the summer, and you've beaten off, shall we say, a number of other championship clubs to bring him here?
Yeah, I believe there's about 5 or 6 championship teams that would have taken him in this window. But we were always confident that we could convince him and Norwich to let him come to us. I think the deal's a really good deal as well, you know, for us in terms of the transfer fee, and but length of contract obviously doesn't commit us to too long, being another player sort of over 30. But again, I don't see that as a massive issue. You know, he's still mobile, he's still quick, he's still full of running. But yeah, so I think he's a very good signing for us. It was one we looked at in the summer, but it was quite late in the window, and we weren't able to agree anything with Norwich in the summer window. So therefore, you know, it was one that we kind of moved on from, but of course revisited in this window.
He's had a day, I think, here. How's he settled in? How's everyone reacted to him?
Yeah, I think he's been fine. I think he knows some of the group, as Curtis Davis so succinctly put, that we're trying to piece together the 1992 under-21s team, was it? It might have been a little bit later than that, but it was around that era. But yeah, so he knows players already. He knows Bradley Johnson. He knows, played with Joe Ledley. You know, he knows Curtis. He knows Tom Huddleston. So I think when you get that scenario, it always makes it easier for a player to settle in. You know, he's a good character again. Something we always look for is someone who's going to fit into the group and not upset the balance and the camaraderie that we've got. And I think he'll settle in fine. But of course, a day it's very difficult to tell entirely. But yeah, he looks pretty comfortable.
Now you've got 10 strikers. What does him coming in mean for the others? And perhaps Chris Martin's the one everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, did you say 10 strikers? I don't think there's quite 10 strikers. Are you counting all the youth team players there as well? Yeah. Attacking options, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, we want lots of different options. I think that we spoke about it before. The reality is that, you know, that Chris Martin and Darren Bent, you know, at some point in this window will want to go and play football. I've spoke to those 2 players about it, that they're in agreement with that, and it will just be seeing whether you know, we have that interest that gets solidified. So I think for me, you know, we've got good attacking options. We've got different attacking options. We have to try and unfortunately in football, of course, sometimes you have to sign people and anticipate other things happening, and you're not always in a position to do them all hand in hand. So yeah, so I think we'll probably lose some of those options, I would imagine, in this window. And if we don't, then we've got some fantastic depth. But of course, all of those players can't be involved at once. So.
Does Chris want to go?
No, look, I've spoke to Chris about it in length. I think Chris wants to go and play football. Obviously, the conversations I have with him had always remained private. And he's like any good championship player, you know, they want to feel alive on a Saturday, and there's only so long you can do that with players if they're not playing. So the reality is, at some point, of course, he's too good a player to be not starting games. But you know, you would have to ask Chris that question. But I think the reality is, we all know that you know, if there's interest, that but he thinks is right for him, then the reality is he'd probably go and play football somewhere else, you know, during this window.
We talked about Chris going out, perhaps. Do you think there'll be any more players coming in?
Again, dependent on outs. I think it was always our plan to try and get some. Again, I hate saying it, but trying to move some players on in this window. Unfortunately, that's never easy. So we've had to almost be a little bit proactive and get what we want, so the squad looks exactly how we want it to look. And then, of course, it's up to us then to see if there's opportunities for players elsewhere. You know, so I would imagine we'd you know, there'd be more outs than there would be ins, let's say, and it would be dependent on how many players leave the building as to how many players we bring into the building. It'd be as simple as that.
On to the game tomorrow night. A Friday night game. I don't know, do you enjoy playing before the rest? Does it give you a chance to both have a bit of a break and change things around? Or, you know, what do you think about that?
I never mind Friday night games, to be honest with you, because I like the atmosphere of an evening game anyway. I love, you know, playing games under the lights or being involved in games under the lights. So for me, I enjoy that. I know the fans find it difficult sometimes. What it does for us as well is it gives us a weekend so that we can do something different, either watch games, watch targets, do whatever we need to do. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility. I don't think about it too much in the way of, you know, the others aren't playing. For us, when the game kicks off, you know, the only thing you focus on is your game anyway. You know, it's not like we check the results on a Saturday coming through and see where we are in the league, you know. So for us, as the game kicks off, we try and win the game, and then we worry about everything else afterwards. So it doesn't really bother me. And you don't feel any extra pressure because you're playing first. You don't feel like there's any extra advantage. It's just a good game to be involved in. And of course, being Bristol, having such a fine season, you know, it'd be a really good game in front of the cameras. So I'm sure everyone will be looking forward to it.
Will Cameron Jerome start maybe, and is Joe Ledley fit?
Well, you know I'm not going to answer those questions, don't you? So, nice try. Look, as far as I'm concerned, we'll assess both of those in training. Both trained yesterday. Both will train this morning, and then we'll see where we are with it, you know, and we'll make those decisions before tomorrow night's game.
Is Joe a bit better though, a bit closer with him starting?
Well, he's trained yesterday, you know, but you have to assess that some managers, after one day's training, would throw a player into the game. And you've got to remember, Joe went straight into the game at Brentford on the back of hardly training for 6 months. So, you know, I'm sure he's in a much better place now than he was then. But at the same time, we're going well, and you know, we have the luxury of making those choices in those areas. So if we choose to involve Joe, whether that's from the start or off the bench, we can. If we choose to wait another 10 days to give him that extra time to train, then of course we can also do that. Thank you.